car keys and wallet, I think, are there too, but he skated away and left them. Here comes Hutson. Lane Hutson scores!
For years, NHL scouts had one simple rule. Size matters. If you weren't tall enough, strong enough, or heavy enough, you didn't stand a chance. But every now and then, someone comes along who rewrites the rules completely. That someone is Lane Hutson, barely 5 feet 9 inches, built like a college student more than an NHL defenseman, and drafted 62nd overall. He wasn't supposed to dominate. He wasn't supposed to lead rushes, outsmart veterans, or win the Calder Trophy. Yet, in his very first season, he didn't just prove people wrong. He took over. This is the story of how a so-called undersized defenseman became one of the brightest young stars in hockey. How he went from being doubted by almost every scout to becoming a franchise cornerstone in Montreal. And how his rise might just reshape the Canadiens' rebuild and maybe even redefine what a modern defenseman looks like. But to understand how he did it, you need to know where it all began. When Lane Hutson's name was called 62nd overall in the 2022 NHL draft, most fans shrugged. Another offensive defenseman, too small for the pros. Scouts praised his hands, skating, and hockey sense, but the same note followed every report: size, size, size. At the US National Team Development Program, Hutson was used to being the smallest guy on the ice, and somehow, the smartest one too. He read plays 2 seconds ahead. He turned broken breakouts into highlight reel passes. He wasn't intimidating anyone physically, but he didn't need to. His brain was his biggest weapon. At Boston University, it all started to click. In his freshman year, he put up 48 points in 39 games, one of the best totals ever by an NCAA freshman defenseman. The next year, he followed it with 49 points in 38 games, leading all defensemen nationwide. Those numbers screamed elite potential, but critics still wondered if that creativity could survive against 220-pound NHL forwards. But Hutson never cared what they thought. He'd heard it all before. Too small, too light, too risky. He knew that in a league obsessed with physicality, intelligence, and timing could still win battles. And soon, the entire hockey world would see it too. But no one expected how quickly that proof would come. When Hutson stepped into the Canadiens lineup, the expectations were modest. A rookie defenseman usually struggles with pace, physicality, and reads. Instead, Hutson looked like he'd been doing it for years. By mid-season, he was everywhere. Quarterbacking the power play, jumping into the rush, controlling tempo. He didn't just survive, he dominated. When the dust settled, his stat line looked unreal for a first-year blue liner. 66 points in 82 games, including 60 assists, tying Larry Murphy's all-time rookie defenseman record from 1980 to 81. He shattered the Canadiens' rookie records, finishing top 5 among all defensemen in assists league-wide. Every night he made something happen. A deceptive shoulder fake at the blue line, a no-look pass through traffic, a perfectly timed pinch that kept a play alive. And he did it with the confidence of a veteran. What made it even more impressive was how smooth he looked doing it. He didn't force plays, he dictated them. Teammates started trusting him like a 10-year vet, and fans, even the ones who had doubted him, realized something special was happening. But this wasn't just about offense, because the biggest knock against him, his size, turned into one of his greatest weapons. And that's where things get really interesting. For years, people said a 5'9" defenseman couldn't defend effectively in the NHL. Lane Hutson didn't just challenge that idea, he dismantled it. He doesn't overpower opponents, he outsmarts them. His stick positioning is elite, cutting off passing lanes before they even open. He pivots smoothly under pressure, never panics, and uses his edges to angle players into bad spots. Advanced stats backed it up. His defensive zone retrieval success rate ranked top 20 among NHL defensemen, and his controlled exits were among the league's best. When he was on the ice, Montreal actually spent less time defending. What's wild is how efficient he is. His gap control makes rush chances disappear before they start. Coaches began trusting him in situations rookies rarely see. Penalty kills, closing minutes, defensive draws. He wasn't just surviving physically, he was neutralizing top players with anticipation and IQ. And when a player that small can defend that effectively, you know you're looking at something new. So it was no surprise that when award season rolled around, there was no debate left to have, because the Calder Trophy was about to find its newest owner, When the NHL announced the 2025 Calder Memorial Trophy finalists, fans already knew who the favorite was. By then, Lane Hutson wasn't just the best rookie, he was one of the most dynamic players in the entire league. On June 10th, 2025, it became official. Lane Hutson, winner of the Calder Trophy. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. He joined an elite club of defensemen who captured the award. Names like Cale Makar, Aaron Ekblad, Brian Leetch, and Bobby Orr himself. For a franchise like Montreal, still rebuilding and desperate for a new identity, it felt like a turning point. The kid they said was too small had become their biggest reason for hope. And with that award came something else. Pressure, because suddenly every comparison started pointing toward one direction, Colorado, and that's when the Makar comparisons began. When a rookie defenseman dominates offensively and wins the Calder, one name inevitably comes up, Cale Makar. And it's not just lazy comparison, the parallels are real, both undersized by traditional standards, both fluid skaters with ridiculous edge work, both think the game a half-second faster than everyone else. Analytics tell the story even clearer. Hutson's rookie season production at 5-on-5 was within 10% of Makar's Calder year, and his on-ice expected goals share ranked among the top 15 defensemen in the league. What separates them right now is explosiveness. Makar's skating is otherworldly, while Hutson's strength is deception and timing. But the similarities in vision and offensive control are unmistakable. Teammates say he's the calmest player on the ice, while opposing forwards describe him as impossible to read. That unpredictability, that quiet genius, might just be what makes him different. So could he reach Makar's level? Maybe not in raw physical tools, but in play driving and creativity, the ceiling is right there. And the scary part, he's just 21. Which brings us to what might be Montreal's smartest move in years, locking him up before the rest of the league could even blink. The Canadiens didn't hesitate. They saw enough in one season to make a decision most teams would have waited years to take. On October 13th, 2025, Lane Hutson signed an 8-year contract worth $70.8 million, an average annual value of $8.85 million. That kicks in next season and runs through 2033 to 34. For a 21-year-old defenseman who just won the Calder Trophy and tied a 40-year-old rookie record, that number raised eyebrows around the league. Not because it was too high, but because it looked like a steal. When you stack it against what other elite defensemen are making, it's almost shocking. Cale Makar's deal sits at $9 million per year, Adam Fox earns $9.5, and Rasmus Dahlin crossed the $11 million mark. Even younger rising stars like Thomas Harley are signing for north of 10, and yet the Canadiens locked in Hutson for under 9, right as his value is skyrocketing. This contract isn't just about keeping a player, it's about sending a message. It says Montreal believes this kid isn't just another talented defenseman. He's the centerpiece of their rebuild. It also gives the front office exactly what every rebuilding team dreams of: stability and flexibility. With Hutson's cap hit locked in long term, management can build around him confidently, spend strategically, and stagger other contracts so the core develops together without the chaos of overlapping negotiations. For Hutson, it's validation. After years of hearing he was too small to make it, he now carries the weight of a franchise and the financial commitment to match. But there's something poetic about it too. The same player who had to fight for every inch of ice is now being paid like one of the top defensemen in the world, and he earned every dollar. The deal also gives the Canadiens a sense of direction they haven't had in years. It's not a short-term experiment or a prove-it contract. It's a declaration that they're building their future around a player who represents the new kind of NHL: smart, fast, fearless, and endlessly creative. Because in today's league, you don't just win by being bigger, you win by being better. And Montreal just made sure their best player will be there for a very long time. But the question now is, what does this mean for the Canadiens' future? The Habs have been searching for their identity ever since the Carey Price and Shea Weber era ended. They've drafted talent: Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Juraj Slavkovsky, but they needed that one cornerstone on defense. Someone to anchor their style, their culture, and their rebuild. That piece is now in place. With Hutson locked in, the Canadiens finally have a blueprint. He represents the next generation defenseman, one who breaks forechecks with brains instead of brute force, who runs transitions like a point guard, and who can turn a defensive play into a scoring chance in seconds. Suzuki leads the forwards, Hutson leads the blue line, and together they form the foundation of what could become one of the most dynamic young cores in the league. And the timing couldn't be better. The Eastern Conference is shifting, aging cores in Boston and Tampa are fading, while teams like Ottawa and Detroit still haven't found consistency. Montreal's window is about to open, and Hutson's contract ensures they'll walk through it with flexibility intact. Still, the journey won't be easy. Opponents will start targeting him, testing his physicality. Fans will expect Norris-level seasons every year, and with that contract, there's no hiding anymore. But the truth is, Hutson's entire career has been about proving people wrong. Why would it stop now? Because if his rookie year was any indication, the story's just beginning. Lane Hutson was never supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to lead a defense. He wasn't supposed to rewrite rookie records, win a Calder, and sign an 8-year deal worth nearly $71 million. But he did, because every doubt, every criticism, and every time someone said too small, he turned it into fuel. And now, the same question that followed him to the draft might define his career, just flipped on its head. If a 5'9" defenseman can dominate in today's NHL, then maybe the game has changed forever. So, what do you think? Is Lane Hutson already the blueprint for the modern NHL defenseman? Or are we just seeing the beginning of something even bigger? Let me know your take in the comments. Because if this rookie season was any clue, we might be watching the rise of a legend in real time.